Welcome to the next video in our What's Next for Planet Zoo series. Today's edition covers the rest of the Asian continent which has not yet been analysed in our previous videos. Regions such as South Asia, encompassing India and Sri Lanka, and East Asia, encompassing China, Korea, and the Russian Far East. As a result, we'll call this the Greater Asia edition. For a look at the rest of the Asian continent, please check out our Eurasia video, which covers the Middle East and Arabia, and our Southeast Asia video. So let's get started, and we head straight to the Indian subcontinent for the namesake Indian pack. India is already well represented in the game. In fact, there is an entire Indian theme in Planet Zoo. Such zoo staples as the Indian peafowl and Bengal tiger are also iconic Indian animals, and lesser known varieties have also been considered, such as the gharial. This pack allows some more significant Indian animals to be showcased, starting with the sloth bear, the main resident bear species of this region. Distinguished from other black bears by their shaggier fur and prominent mane, sloth bears are excellent climbers and can be found foraging in trees within scrublands, savannas, and forests. They are predominantly insectivorous and frugivorous. Fruits, ants, and termites make up the majority of their diet. As one of the most famous animals of India and showcased worldwide in zoos, they are a primary candidate for the flagship of Indian animals not yet in the game. Next is the Indian leopard, by far the most successful and least threatened leopards outside of Africa. Due to their reverence and protection in this region, leopards are reasonably common in India, sympatric alongside the Bengal tiger. In zoos, Indian leopards are more difficult to find, again because of their protection and because they have less conservational concerns compared to other species, such as the amur. Our next candidate is the famous blackbuck antelope. Its striking appearance and inclusion in many other zoo games, such as Zoo Tycoon, make it a reasonably likely addition. Blackbucks historically suffered from excessive hunting and habitat loss, but today their numbers have recovered to the point where they can be found over much of the grasslands and savanna of the country, and are considered an animal icon of India. Alternatively, we can consider the Indian hog deer, a small endangered deer which is currently under severe pressure to stay alive. Resultingly, they have been exported to zoos and participate in extensive breeding programs. The largest wild cattle in the world is the gaur, or Indian bison. Strong and heavily built, they have few natural predators, but this makes them lucrative targets for poachers, especially in rural areas, as they can sustain villages with meat for weeks. This has unfortunately forced a vulnerable conservation status. Gaurs are rare assets in captivity, as they require large exhibits, but can be found in a select variety of zoos. They are also one of the few animals that have been successfully cloned. Known as the blue bull in India, the nilgai are the largest Asian antelope variety, and their stocky build resembles that of African eland. Nilgai are successful herbivores found in many habitats over much of the subcontinent, to the point where they are considered pests in some areas, trampling and grazing on crops. Because of this, they are only a distant alternative. Our final slot goes to the Indian cobra, the archetype of the Naja cobra genus. Its reverence in Indian culture, famed appearance, dangerous reputation, and prevalence in captivity should warrant a future likely addition for this reptile. India's subtropical and dry climate creates savanna conditions similar to Africa. The Gir National Park of Gujarat in western India is very reminiscent in many regards to southern Africa, even showcasing similar animal groups. The protected reserve has attracted vast densities of animals, becoming an extremely popular safari destination, and thus we can consider this park and its wildlife as a safari pack, similar to how we considered safari packs in our Africa video. Gir National Park is the last sanctuary of the Asiatic lion, the only remaining lion population outside of Africa, and is considered highly endangered. Here, male lions display an unusually lesser developed mane, sometimes even maneless, with average sizes slightly smaller than their African counterparts. Asiatic lions can be found readily in zoological institutions, but the captive population has been extensively interbred with other subspecies, and thus it is difficult to determine their true genetic relevance to the wild genome. Their distinctness from African lions, however, should make them a prime candidate for lion variety. Striped hyenas can be found over much of India, but their population is often patchy. The Gir National Park, however, is a major stronghold for them. Here, striped hyenas occupy the same biological niches that hyenas also display in Africa, as they can consume bone, marrow, and ligaments. They clean up after larger predators, often scavenging carcasses killed by lions, leopards, and tigers, rarely ever contesting directly with their competitors. The herbivores of Gir National Park include the widely cited chital or spotted deer. India's most famous deer species is a major prey item for tigers in India. In Gir, they are a favoured prey item for the Asiatic lions, thanks to their high population density and suitable size and weight. The chitao is also found extensively in captivity, as its contrasting rufous brown fur with white spots creates a remarkable appearance and a popular exhibition. The chinkara or Indian gazelle is a decent alternative, as they are another common herbivore of Gir National Park. With zoos preferring African gazelle varieties, the chinkara is thus a less sought after animal comparatively. The endangered Indian pangolin can be found in this reserve, where they subsist on ants and termites in the dry terrain of the area. Unlike other varieties, they do not climb trees and are exclusively ground dwelling. The Maga crocodile is our final candidate, and like the Nile crocodile of Africa, Maga crocs inhabit many freshwater habitats of the South Asian subcontinent, but have particularly high density in Gir National Park in correlation to their prey densities. Maga crocodiles were bred in captivity extensively during history, but today only a few select locations can exhibit the animal. This next pack covers the tallest mountain range on Earth, the Himalayas, and the subsequent Tibetan plateau formed behind it. This high-altitude alpine tundra biome has reduced species diversity because of its elevation and low precipitation, and even less of these animals are in captivity. However, there are several candidates that warrant a consideration for this Himalayan pack, especially to enhance the game's caprid variety. The first is the Tibetan antelope, a majestic species that inhabits the montane grasslands of Tibet. Their soft, cream-coloured fur and slender, elongated horns are the hallmarks of a truly remarkable specimen that would prove highly desirable in a zoo game setting, as only one individual has ever been kept in captivity. Yaks are a quintessential Tibetan animal and have been associated with the indigenous peoples of this region. A large bovid adapted to cold climates would be great for variety in the current roster, but may have to compete with similar niche animals such as muskox. Domestic yaks are widely kept in captivity, with 60 zoological institutions housing this animal. Wild yaks, on the other hand, have no captive representation but may be considered for a more conservational focus. The next slot covers the caprids, with the standout markhor, one of the most famous wild goat varieties in the world, inhabiting the western ranges of the Himalayas into the Hindu Kush region of Afghanistan and Pakistan. The screw-shaped horns of this species is the major identifying feature, and has seen its introduction as a staple into other zoo games. It is, however, quite rare but lucrative in captivity, with exhibits at institutions that include Munich and Moscow Zoo. Although not as impressive as the markhor, the barao or Himalayan blue sheep is pretty much the bighorn of the Himalayas. As it appears much more readily in captivity compared to the markhor, it presents itself as a strong caprid alternative. Another possible caprid is the Himalayan tahr. Despite not having prominent horns, they are famous for their golden winter wool coats, a required adaptation to their harsh environments. They also feature at a variety of famous zoos such as Berlin, Antwerp and Bronx zoos. Alternatively, we could consider the wild horse variety in this region, the kiang or Tibetan wild ass. A close relative of the onager or Asiatic wild ass, the kiang is the largest of wild ass varieties, with noticeably thicker fur as an adaptation to higher altitudes. They appear readily in European zoos, where Berlin, Prague and Moscow zoos exhibit the animal. Finally, we end with a carnivore for the final slot. Planet Zoo already has strong representation here, with the snow leopard and Himalayan brown bear featured, so it seems counterintuitive to add another brown bear subspecies, the Tibetan blue bear. But they are considered the rarest brown bear subspecies in the world. Rarely sighted in the wild, they are so named after their greyish-blue tinge in their fur and prominent golden mane around their necks. They, however, only appear in 2 zoos in China and thus are only a distant possibility. We now move into China proper, covering the country's highlands. This pack encompasses the mountainous regions of western, central and southern China, which features subtropical and temperate forests, such as the Qinling Mountains. The giant panda and red panda introduced into the game reside in this biome, and the East Asian architectural theme would be useful to house the following animals. The golden snub-nosed monkey is perhaps the most famous primate out of China, and an iconic animal of the highlands. Limited to temperate mountain forest overlapping in range with pandas, these habitats have been continuously pressured by human encroachment, and the species is considered endangered. There is considerable captive representation though, with San Francisco and San Diego zoos historically showcasing the animal. However, today none are kept outside of East Asia. We covered the clouded leopard in our Southeast Asia video, however the animal is also prevalent in the temperate and subtropical climates of the Chinese highlands. With the extinction of the South China tiger, the clouded leopard has become the primary predator in some locations, and this pack idea is another compelling opportunity for an animal so famous and widespread in captivity. The smaller leopard cat, which is distributed over much of Asian continent's mountain ranges, is a decent alternative as it is common in captivity but may struggle to displace other famous wildcats, particularly from South America. The golden Takian is a goat antelope native to the Qinling Mountains, renowned worldwide for their vibrant golden coat of fur. Vulnerable in the wild, their lucrative appearance has seen its introduction to a variety of zoological parks around the world, including a considerable population in Europe. Alternatively, another resident of the Qinling Mountains is the brown subspecies of the giant panda. This is a distant wish list for its unique coat coloration and endangered status in the wild, but with only one individual in captivity, it is quite unlikely. In the next slot, we cover smaller tree-dwelling mammals, starting with the yellow-throated marten. Distributed over much of the Himalayas in China's Highlands, this is a successful mustelid with a striking appearance that has proved popular in captivity, particularly among German and Russian zoos. As an adept ground-dwelling and tree-climbing predator, the yellow-throated marten is a capable candidate for a niche that is yet to be covered in Planet Zoo. Alternatively, the black giant squirrel of southern China is an exceptionally large arboreal rodent with contrasting black and yellow coloration. Although limited in captivity, it is one of the few tree-climbing rodents large enough to be exhibited feasibly in the game. We end this pack with some Chinese highland birds, the golden and Lady Amherst pheasants. Both species are equally famous and ornately coloured, favoured as free-roaming animals or aviary specimens across the globe, and are great candidates to bolster the ground bird roster. This next pack covers the riverine environments and wetland habitats of China, but more specifically in relation to the Yangtze River Basin of eastern China. The third longest river in the world has a huge variety of wildlife associated with it, but over the past decades has suffered from pollution, damming, and drainage concerns that have impacted on conservation. As a result, many of the animals in this pack are crucially endangered. The Chinese alligator is believed to have been the inspiration for the Chinese dragon. It is the only crocodilian that lives outside of the tropics in Asia, but today its range is restricted to the lower reaches of the Yangtze, with population numbering around 300. The species is the subject of intense breeding programs, however, with at least 20,000 living in captivity, and a sizable amount in American zoos such as Cincinnati and St. Louis. Another crucial wetland animal is the Asian small-clawed otter. Ongoing habitat loss, pollution of its water environments, and trapping for meat and fur, it's listed as vulnerable despite having a large distribution range. This is one of the most exhibited otter species in the world, present at over 70 zoos worldwide, and an almost required species for the game. One of the largest amphibians of the world is the Chinese giant salamander, a critically endangered species that has been overhunted to the brink of extinction due to its value in the medicine trade. They are farmed extensively in captivity for this very reason, though have also recently been introduced into reputable zoological institutions this century. Since they live suspended in water, they are perhaps more suitable for aquarium mechanics, but can still be implemented in the current confines of the in-game exhibit. Similarly, the vulnerable Chinese softshell turtle inhabits water environments, but likewise would still be able to fit inside exhibits. This is the most commonly farmed turtle in China, with turtle soup a staple delicacy of the region. Regardless, they are still extensively showcased as a zoo animal and represents a critical riverine animal of China. Our final slot, we cover wetland deer species, beginning with the water deer. Indigenous to the lower reaches of the Yangtze, they are identified by their long canine teeth which protrude from the upper jaw, forming tusks. Males use these tusks in territorial or dominance displays, and this unique feature has seen its export to Europe, where several escaped deer have formed feral populations. Alternatively, we have the extinct in the wild Pierre David's deer. No longer found in its natural wetland habitat in the river valleys of China, Pierre David's deer instead survived through Europeans who brought back specimens to showcase in their zoos. Today they can be found in ranches, hunting reserves and zoological parks all over the West, whilst ongoing reintroduction campaigns have begun in China proper. Now to the Isles of Japan, a region that has many spiritual and cultural connections with its wildlife. The most famous Japanese animal, the macaque, has already been added, but with the rich availability of East Asian architecture, it seems sensible to add some more variety from this region. We start with the red-crowned or Japanese crane, a symbol of the nation and immensely significant in East Asian culture. Their majestic appearance, graceful movements, and unique vocalizations will be an extremely welcome addition to the game, not to mention this bird has conservational significance as an endangered species. The Japanese serow also has importance as it was hunted to near extinction. The subsequent campaigns to save the animal presents a great example of effective conservation efforts, and the Japanese serow is thus symbolic of such endeavors. Japanese serow are quite rare in captivity, but they do have high-profile exhibits in Berlin and Los Angeles zoos, for instance. Also, they can be found in other zoo games such as Zoo Tycoon. Next, we have the Iriomote cat, a critically endangered leopard cat subspecies restricted to the Japanese island of Iriomote. This is a rare but well-studied wild cat with much attention given to this species due to its approaching extinction. Few specimens have been kept in captivity as the animal is difficult to procure, but maybe it's too specific and outshone by other cats, including the leopard cat itself we covered earlier. Japan is also notable for its species of bears. The resident black bear is a subspecies of the Asian black bear, which is currently represented in the game by the Formosan subspecies in Taiwan. 10,000 black bears live in Japan, but as with many other island species, they are declining. These bears are typically smaller than other black bear populations. On the other hand, the Isuri brown bear is one of the largest brown bear subspecies, inhabiting various islands and coastal regions around Japan, including the country's northern island Hokkaido. Both subspecies have some zoological representation around Asia and can be decent additions for bear diversity outside of Europe and America. Our last lot will cover smaller predators of Japan, beginning with the raccoon dog. Known in Japan as the tanuki, this canid's masked face is similar to that of raccoons, even though they are not related. In the West, they are hardly showcased, with only a few accredited institutions showcasing the animal, but in Asia they appear in decent numbers and are known for their curious, playful, and cute nature. Alternatively, the Japanese marten and its bright orange fur is a promising candidate, though its lack of meaningful captive population and lesser reputation compared to other family members makes it unlikely. Our final pack of this video covers the temperate forest around the Amur River, covering the regions of the Russian Far East, Korea, and Northeast China. This area constitutes some of the most productive forests in the world, at the same time containing one of the highest endangered species densities on Earth. For instance, the endangered Siberian tiger available in the game has its distribution restricted to this region. Our flagship should therefore be the Amur leopard, the rarest cat on Earth with only about 20 remaining in the wild. However, it is a stalwart in zoos as one of the most exhibited big cats across the globe. This is a subspecies that is perhaps the most likely to represent the leopard for its eventual inclusion into Planet Zoo, with maybe the African leopard worth considering as well. Another threatened species from this region is the long-tailed goral. They are closely related to other caprids such as serows, mountain goats, and chamois. This animal is kept extensively in zoos with a huge collection in America. Two species we covered in the Eurasia video are also relevant here, the Eurasian lynx and Eurasian wolf, and it is worth considering either of these interchangeable predators as another possible slot for this pack. The region's most famous deer species is the Siberian musk deer, noted for their prominent tusks that resemble fangs. Like reindeer, they can consume lichen, which is a great adaptation for the harsh winters of this region. This deer only appears in limited places at the most prestigious institutions, such as Columbus and Berlin Zoo. The alternative is the Siberian roe deer, a common sighting across the temperate forest of Eurasia. However, this species is much rarer in captivity, only appearing in Russian and Chinese zoos. We end our list with the sable, arguably the most famous marten species. Small, omnivorous, and exceptional climbers, they are famed for their dark fur, a subject of much of their persecution ever since the Middle Ages. Today, the sable has strong populations across the taiga and temperate regions of Russia. Resultingly, it can be found in many Russian zoological institutions. That ends our What's Next for Planet Zoo video, Greater Asia, and resultingly the final video of our continental series. However, this isn't the end of the What's Next series, as we will be looking at your submissions next. Yes, What's Next for Planet Zoo will now take a look at community creations. Viewers can submit their own pack ideas. The best ideas will be chosen to be showcased in a new video, whilst the best of them all will win a prize. Please watch this video for instructions on how to participate. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Subscribe for more Planet Zoo content, and remember to participate in the What's Next for Planet Zoo Community Creations competition.